Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Managing Change in Your Organization, hosted by Desert Leadership. We're thrilled that you're with us today, and we've got a great group and looking forward to the next hour. Before we get started, I wanted to remind everybody, if you've got a question you'd like to have answered here at the end of the presentation, please submit it at any point in the question panel here in GoToWebinar. Our presenter this afternoon is Melissa Charles. She is the owner and CEO of Desert Leadership and based in the Phoenix, Tempe, Arizona area. And we're excited to have her. She's got over 24 years of experience in sales, retail, auditing, customer service, and management. And she's going to be sharing with us today about how to manage change in your organization. And we're really looking forward to it. So, Melissa, if you are ready, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Great. Thank you, Doug. And thanks for that introduction. Hello. Welcome, everyone. And we've got an exciting topic today, managing change in your organization. So if everyone's ready to go, let's go ahead and get started. Here are our objectives for today: discussing the characteristics of change and the impact it has on our lives, identify transition during change, map a change experience, discuss reactions to change, discuss how to manage future change, and discuss how to handle the personal change resilience. You know, when I was doing this, I found this quote, and I kind of liked it. It's something that President Kennedy actually said, and change is the law of life. And those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future. And I really believe that because, you know, change is a part of everyday life, whether it's personal or professional. You know, we live in an ever-changing world. So we have the ability to look at change either as a doom and gloom approach, or we can think of it as an opportunity to examine how we define ourselves, where we are going, and how we will accomplish our goals. Others make decisions that change our lives, but we also constantly take actions or make decisions that result in change as well. Organizations and individuals are faced with constant complex changes on a daily basis. Some of the changes are unexpected and unwelcomed, while many are expected and necessary. Changes impact every aspect of your life. They impact them physically, mentally, and emotionally. We all react differently to change, whether expected or unexpected. The changes of change, one of it is the magnitude of the change. Another is the approach that it's going to require. The increasing seriousness of its implications, as well as the diminishing self-life of the effectiveness of our responses to it. Some of the physical signs of change, I think we all are pretty aware of. One is it can cause headaches from the stress of having to deal with the unexpected or expected change. Some people get rashes. Some feel like they're exhausted. Some have stomach problems because they're holding in all the anxiety all of the time. Others complain of minor pains. Some get lower immune systems because they're stressed out so much of the time because they're worrying about something that, you know, realistically you don't have control over. Some mental signs of change are negative thoughts, confusion, difficulty concentrating, lower productivity, sleeplessness, forgetting the details. When everybody starts getting stressed out about change, these are all things that start happening. You're so consumed with the idea of the change that you're not really embracing the opportunities that it could actually bring about. Some of the emotional signs of change are anxiety, fear, anger, frustration, depression, and some people just love change, so there's a lot of excitement in the idea of things being kind of jumbled up and changed for the better. And some people just withdraw because, you know, the simple fact is change affects everybody differently, so it brings up a lot of different emotions. Understanding the change process. Change, of course, is an ongoing process. It sometimes can be a quite lengthy process, sometimes it's a short process, but it's always an ongoing process. Realizing how you transition past changes can help you predict your responses to future changes. So when you look back at how you dealt with changes in the past, were they a positive experience? Were they a negative experience? And depending on that experience is how realistically you're going to deal with future changes. There are 3 phases of transition. The first one's ending, the neutral zone, and new beginnings. Many emotions correspond to the different phases of change. Now, the first thing is endings. This is really where we deal with the loss, the grief, or the letting go of what's changing. A lot of times we kind of fight the change because, you know, we're uncertain of what's really going to be in store for us. The second phase is the neutral zone. In this zone, we have chaos, we have confusion, but we also have creativity because we're trying to really kind of deal with the fact that we've got these changes going on, and now what is it going to involve for us to be able to get through the change. And the third is new beginnings. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. There is renewed energy. There's recognizing of the opportunity, the renewal, and the realignment of possibly your position or the duties that you are going to have going forward with the change in the organization. Now we've got what we call the change curve. As you can see on the left, we've got the endings. In the middle is your neutral zone and the new beginnings. We've got everything from denial to anger to shock. We've got the fear, the frustration, the depression of, you know, having to deal with changes, the confusion, the stress of how we're going to deal with it. You know, then of course we've got the skepticism. And then we come into the acceptance. You know, we've got impatient, anxiety, the hope, the enthusiasm, the energy. You know, all of these things are normal things to feel whether you're going through changes in your personal life or in an organization. These are all common things that people are going to feel going through this. Before you can manage a change project, you must first understand the way people, you know, are going to feel and how they're going to work. You have to understand how people are going to react to changes. This, you know, can put you in a better position to make the plan of action going forward on how we are going to undertake the change initiative. As we look at the change curve on the previous slide, you know, people's reactions to each stage of the change can range anywhere from shock to denial to acceptance to commitment as the changes are implemented. People need time to adjust and accept change. So levels of performance may fall as they learn how to use new systems or processes. You have to remember, you know, when you're making your plan of action that you've got to build sufficient time in for the people to process, to adjust to the situation. And make sure that there is a lot of consultation with the people that are going to be affected with the change. The next thing would be the planning of the change. You know, another great quote that I heard, and I'm not really sure who said it, but if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And I really do believe that. You know, it's just so true in just every facet of either business or professional or personal life. You know, if you're not if you don't have good preparation, then you're not going to have successful planning. You will want to conduct, impact analysis to make sure that, there's an understanding of the possible positive and negative consequences of the change so that you can develop consistency, also making sure that if there are any issues that arise, that you're going to be able to deal with those. Then there's implementing the change. When implementing change, further communication is critical. You want to make sure that the communication is there because most certainly if you have problems, at some point, if you aren't talking about them, then the plan and the communication is not going to work. And you want to be successful with it. So people may, go back to their old ways of doing things if there isn't a clear path for them and they're not, kind of being talked to and communicated with. During this process, you'll want to conduct training needs assessments to understand where everybody's at within the stages of the project. Ensure that people have the skills they need to be successful as the change is implemented. People must be confident that they can do what's being asked of them. So it's very important that you are training before, during, and after the change has taken place. Managing resistance to change. This is another, big thing that I think is not always looked at. Many people are uncomfortable with change. We know that. So a large part of managing change is overcoming resistance and promoting acceptance and belief in the change. You can overcome this resistance by communicating effectively. Talk about why change is necessary and shape your vision to the change so that everybody is aware and they can see what that vision is. For people to be motivated to change, they must be dissatisfied with the current situation and must think that the proposed solution is a desirable and practical solution. You want to make sure that everybody's understanding what's ahead of them so that they can feel confident that they will be able to move forward. Some causes of the resistance, and these are really, I think, normal feelings that most everybody has. You have loss of control and power. You feel helpless. There's loss and grief, much like we talked about before. There's risk that is involved. There's conflict and or anger involved. Resistance to change is normal and should be expected. But change can be a positive and more effective outlet. People can be resilient, and this is something that can be learned and increased. The choices you make and the actions you take determine your resistance when faced with change. So resilient people, they tend to assess the situation at hand, really kind of take a look at what the situation is and how they want to best fit into that situation. So you always want to look at the whole situation. Don't just look at the negatives to it, look at the positives. How it's going to affect the company, how it's going to affect you. Consider solutions and actions. Again, everybody's got to kind of take a step back and realize that this is a good opportunity for the company. So you want to be the best that you can be, and you want the company to be the best that it can be so everybody can move forward. Select the best choice. What's best going to work for you? And then take the action. Learn what does work and what doesn't work. Resilient people develop a sense of personal power by having an active approach to change. They look for what they can do and do it. They don't get blocked in one area and then just decide it's not going to work. They try something else. They take action on what they can control, on new sources of energy, and increasing a feeling of personal power during this change. When you think about it, most people, even though you might not realize it, but most human beings are control-oriented people. They want to help to get a clear vision, a clear understanding of what you can do and what you can't do. We can't control every situation, and what we have to do is realize the one thing we can control is how we are going to attack a situation and how we're best going to fit into that. When faced with change, you just have to really take an examination of what really is going to work best for you as the individual in your role and in the company. And obviously modify your actions and or behaviors to get the best results. Resilience helps people manage change effectively, experience less stress, and return to the productivity quickly. Again, when you kind of embrace the power of change, then you are going to find that things are probably not always going to be an easy road to go down, but it's going to be a less stressful road to go down. And you're going to start to realize as you relax, things are going to become easier and more productive. Determining, again, what you can control, what you can influence, what you can't control can help you manage change and develop resilience. You all have different responses to change, but you can work to increase your resilience. Everybody has the ability to be resilient in any situation. Again, it's not always probably the choice that we want or that we're looking for, but we just kind of take control of our situations and move forward. And it's always best to try and kind of have a better outlook on that. To be successful, there must be an intimate understanding of really the human side of the change management, the alignment of the company's culture, the values, people, and behaviors to encourage the desired results. Plans themselves do not capture value. Value is recognized only through the substance, the collective action of everyone. Employees who are responsible for designing, executing, and living with the changed environment. This is another quote that I saw and I thought, this is really true, and it's something that personally or professionally, it's really true. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And it's really true. So if you're a person that, doesn't look forward to change, you panic at the thought of something changing when you're a person that likes things a certain way, if things don't always work out, you have to examine, well, how could I have handled that differently? How could I have taken a different approach to the situation? Managing change successfully, whether it's in our personal or professional lives, is one of the biggest challenges that we face. We often think of change as a negative thing, but most of the times, ultimately, it really is a positive impact, not just for ourselves, but our organization. So it's always best to look at change in a more positive light and realize that we can help make things a lot better. And if we believe in that in our organization, change itself will become easier to do. Okay, so hopefully we have some questions. So I will go ahead and turn it back over to you, Doug.
Okay, great. Thanks, Melissa. That was fantastic. Yeah, we do have a few questions here, so I'm going to start in on these. We've got Matt. He asked, how can you make change stick?
Well, there's kind of a four-stage approach to this. And, the first stage is prepare your organization culture. you want to do this months before you're setting to turn around the plan. Wanting to make sure that you are able to get the employees to understand what's coming, and really that the company is going to be able to survive and be thriving more with the change that's coming. The second, of course, is presenting your plan. It's vital that there's communication in the process, making sure that you're explaining in detail its purpose and the impact that it's going to have. Another thing would be, after the execution of the plan, making sure that you're managing the employees' emotions by acknowledging the pain of the change while keeping people focused on the hard work that's ahead. And the last thing to making sure that the change is going to stick is, to make sure as the turnaround starts, making sure that the results, everything's being reinforced in the behavioral changes so that there's no backsliding to the situation. Because when people feel like the old ways work better, people are going to start to slowly go back to doing what they used to do instead of embracing the new ways of doing things.
Okay, fantastic, great. Okay, next question. Is there anything that can be done to alleviate stress caused by change?
Well, I think that, the stress comes with the fact that, honestly, nobody likes change. So everybody starts to worry about, how is this change going to affect me? And, what's my role going to be? And so everybody starts to kind of just get stressed out. Now, a lot of times change can be quite a daunting process. So really the best thing to do is to, one, try and keep your eye on the ball. Don't look ahead too far. Don't, overreact or think of things in a negative situation. The other thing is, when you do get stressed out, it's kind of best to find an outlet to really kind of alleviate that stress. Whether that's, scrunching one of them stress balls at your desk while you're working, or, finding outlets outside of work to try and alleviate the pressures that you have inside the workplace. Also, I've found that it's kind of fun too, when there's a lot of change going on, to get your teams involved in activities that will get their mind off of change. Have some little activities. Maybe have like a fun day where different points during the day you're doing activities that not only show your concern for your employees, but give them and you an outlet to, for 5 or 10 minutes, whatever that time frame is, to stop thinking about all of the stress involved in making the changes happen, and just kind of realizing and regrouping that you're a team and that you can make things work together.
Okay. Okay, next question. Why do you think change programs fail?
Well, there's lots of reasons why. Companies overemphasize, the soft side of change. Leadership styles, corporate culture, employees' motivation. These are elements that are crucial for success. Change projects can't, really get off the ground unless companies address the hard elements first. One of those is the duration. The time between the milestones. Obviously, you want to try and keep it as shorter, or the shortest as possible. If you've got something that's going to be very lengthy and process, it's kind of going to start to wear on every individual that's involved. Also the integrity. You want to make sure that your change project teams are skilled and can handle what's going on. The commitment of the senior executives and the managers, that are handling the project, making sure that they're staying committed. and that there's conversation and communication going on so that everybody stays involved and really kind of keeps their focus. Another thing would be the effort involved. You know, obviously there is going to be some extra work involved for the employees, and, you know, they're going to need to be able to adapt to new processes and, you know, making things a better situation. So, you know, it's kind of these are all reasons why a lot of times change doesn't always work out, because we kind of drop the ball in the middle and we forget about, you know, the hard work that's really involved.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Okay, here's kind of an interesting question. Most of the time, change is initiated when things are not going well. Do you think that sometimes change should be started when things are going well in order to improve the company in a less stressful way?
Well, I mean, it's always easier to implement change when things are going well for a company. You know, the company environment is always, you know, a more upbeat situation when things are going well. The kind of sad part is that we tend to initiate change when things aren't going well, because we realize that what we're doing is not working, and if we don't change the way that we do things, there might not be a company around. So, you know, yes, it's always easier when, you know, everybody's upbeat, business is thriving, you know, change, people are a little more accepting of change. When things aren't going well, it's always going to be tougher. But I think that's when, you know, it kind of shows everybody's resilience to the situation. I mean, you know, when things are going well, people are fired up. They're ready to go. When things aren't going so well, people tend to be like, well, why are we bothering? Why should we do this? What's in it for me that's going to make it, you know, a good situation? You know, and that's really where you have to have a clear vision of your plan, and you've got to be able to communicate that to your executives, your managers, your employees, so that even when times are tough, people are going to be fired up. They can see the vision, they can see the future and know that it's going to be a brighter one, so that they're in for the hard work ahead.
Okay. Okay. Next question is, why do you think change management is so hard for employees to deal with?
Basically because people are just reluctant to change. You know, when you tend to do things a certain way for so long, you think that that's the best way to do it. You know, I can think of a situation a while back in my career where, you know, I started out at this company and this individual showed me how to do the job that I was hired to do. So that's how I did it, exactly how she did it. So when it was time for me to move on to another position, when I went to train somebody, even though I had a different way of doing it, I went back to her old way of doing it because I thought it was just an easier thing to do. This person would understand it better if I just went A, B, C, D. You know, you just tend to go back to what's comfortable. And, you know, people just are reluctant to change. I can't think of, you know, very many people that when you say, okay, we've got changes coming, people are jumping up for joy, having a party over it. You know, people like to kind of just stay with what they know works. Even though your plan might be a better plan and things might work a lot better and results are going to be better, you really have to show people that that's really what's going to happen. You know, so the resistance to that will change, and it will become more strong in their mind that this is a good thing, this is a great opportunity. We need to follow through with the plan.
Okay. Another question we've had come in. Do you think that companies can create a culture where change is a positive and relatively easier process?
I do believe that, I do believe there's the ability to do it. Again, I really believe and have really seen in my experiences that the more communication there is, the less likely that people are going to be resistant to it. Do I think that we're ever going to get where somebody says, okay, we've got to change, there's some changes coming, and everybody's going to be jumping for joy? Probably not. I mean, it would kind of be nice to think that would happen, but, it all comes down to your vision and your plan and making sure that when you go to execute these things, that you get your executives on board, you get your managers on board, because these are the people that are going to be able to get your employees on board. Your employees are always going to be looking for support and the belief that this is a great plan and that this is going to work. So when you believe that, your managers believe that, your employees will believe that. So it just really comes down to, preparation for planning, making sure your plan's a good plan, and communicating, not just communicating once, but communicating through the entire process. If you've got a plan that's 3 parts, then you need to make sure during every single one of those parts there's communication. Because when somebody just says, okay, well, we're going to throw out this plan, here's my vision for it, and then that's the last communication you have, it's going to be very difficult to keep people believing that this plan is going to work and that they should be invested in it.
Okay. What steps should a company take to start a change process?
Well, really, for a change process, it can be kind of a lengthy process to build. I mean, there's probably about 8 different steps that I can think of. First of all, it's going to be establishing that sense of urgency, examining, the market and the competitive realities, identifying and discussing potential crisis, and major opportunities. That's really your first step. Your second step is going to be, forming a powerful guiding coalition, assembling a group of, a group that has enough power to lead the change, encourage the group to work together as a team. Your next step would be creating the vision. Again, creating a vision to help direct the change effectively, developing strategies for achieving this vision. Your fourth step would be communicating the vision, using every vehicle possible to communicate the new vision and the strategy that are going to be involved in that vision. Making sure that you're teaching the new behaviors and you're guiding those. The next would be empowering others to act on the vision. Again, getting rid of the obstacles of the change, changing systems and or structures that seriously undermine the vision itself, encouraging risk, taking and non-traditional ideas, activities, actions. The sixth step really would be the planning for and the creating the short-term wins. If there's not short-term wins involved, then people are going to think this is going to take forever. Planning for the vision, the performance improvements, creating those improvements, recognizing and rewarding employees involved in those improvements. Next would be consolidating. The under improvements and producing still more change. Using credibility to change systems, structures, and policies that really just don't fit the new vision that you have. Making sure that you're hiring and promoting and developing employees who can implement the vision. That's really a key part of this step, because if you don't have the people that believe that they can go with this vision, do what needs to be done, then your vision is really going to kind of fall to the wayside. Next would be just making sure that, you know, you're instrumental in the new approaches to the vision, connections between the new behaviors and the corporate success, developing the means to ensure leadership development and succession. You know, you again want to make sure that with this vision that you're going forward and you're making sure that everyone in the organization has the tools necessary to be successful in the new vision of the company.
Okay. Well, obviously you're very much an expert on change and change processes with an organization. So how can companies in need of this kind of assistance and guidance get started working with you?
Well, of course, definitely go to my website at desertleadership.com. They definitely can go there, and all of my information is there. My phone number, my email address, of course, you can see that on the screen as well. And definitely feel free to contact me, and we can go over the steps that we need to get involved in really managing the change in the organization and making it a successful process.
All right, that's great. Well, we appreciate everybody's time, and thank you for joining us today. And Melissa, thank you so much for your time and that great presentation.
Thanks, Doug. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
All right, take care, everyone.